We'll get the Eagles and the Giants going at it on Sunday in an NFC East divisional matchup. Who do you think is going to come out on top and why?
I mean, I'm going to keep this one clear cut and concise because I don't really have much analytics to put behind it. The Eagles are going to smack the Giants. Obviously, I believe the Giants are a good football team, but it's the injuries, man. I really can't give them a pass with everything they've had to overcome between injuries on the offensive line, wide receiver core, especially. You've had some corners, some safety injuries. I mean, you name it, everybody's been banged up at this point. And I know you can't really equivalate or blame victories and losses on injury, but when your entire receiver core has been depleted, you've gone through a couple of tackles and guards because of injuries in and throughout the season. I mean, it's inevitable that eventually these injuries will catch up. The Eagles have one of the best defenses in the league. They have the league's best offense, in my opinion, between A.J. Brown, Quez Watkins, of course, when Dallas Goedert gets back, and even without Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith, and of course, the MVP candidate, leading candidate in Jalen Hurts. I truthfully believe that this is going to be a reawakening, or should I say, just a can of whoop ass, in my opinion, because the Eagles are just a flat out better team. The Giants played a competitive game against the Commanders, right? They did play tough. They did find ways to make that game closer than what it needed to be, because at the end of the day, I mean, I thought that the Giants would end up pulling away as time progressed, the way that the second half was kind of going. But again, with them not scoring in overtime and then it ending in a tie, it kind of looked a little inept later in that game. It looked like they had nothing left in the tank, like they were gassed. Play calling was a little questionable. Defense was able to get stops, but the offense wasn't able to move the ball downfield. So I will say they don't have a chance, in my opinion, but the Eagles made a lot of mistakes last week in that first half / first quarter. They had about 5 or 6 false starts in that game. The offensive line looked out of whack. They had a couple of holding penalties. So if this offensive line does not play tough, if this offensive line does not get it together, the pass rush of the Giants has been known to pressure the quarterback quite a bit. Now, I will say that last week they were limited because the Tennessee Titans are one of the best rush defenses in the NFL. I'm not saying that the Giants aren't, but they're not what Tennessee is in terms of stuffing the run. You have the RPO capability of Jalen Hurts. Obviously, Miles Sanders is hopefully going to be able to get it going again this week, which will open up the play action. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm taking A.J. Brown on one-on-one coverage the majority of this game. I mean, of course, McLeod is injured. He's questionable. Leonard Williams is injured. Saquon's injured. Richie James, another receiver for them, is injured. I mean, the list truly just goes on and on. So it's just a matter of who's going to be available to guard the receivers of the Eagles. If Adoree Jackson is there, I think that he's going to make it somewhat challenging. But I mean, A.J. Brown's just a physical beast that is not going to let anybody stop him. So I got Philly by 2 or 3 scores, man. Again, no insult to the Giants. I just think the Eagles are miles away better than what the Giants are. But I've been wrong before. I feel like if the Eagles play down to their competition like they did against Washington, they don't take it serious and they start to struggle, it is quite possible that the Eagles can start off slow. And when the Eagles start off slow, that's not exactly a good formula for them. So we'll see how this works out. But I got Philly by a lot.
Yeah, I got the Eagles all day in this one. And when it comes to the Eagles this year, they've been extremely effective. They've only lost one game this year. Jalen Hurts has been one of the biggest catalysts to their success this year. And as far as I'm concerned, Kev, we've been talking about Jalen the last couple of weeks. He should definitely be in the consideration for the top of the MVP leaderboard. And I know there's always been a lot of focus paid towards Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, but I believe that Jalen's done enough at this point to be in that conversation. And what we saw based in that last game against the Titans, I think he's definitely in the top 5 as far as MVP candidates, and you could probably say arguably top 3. Now that we have 3-4 weeks left in the season, we're week 14, right? So,
Yes.
so we got 4 weeks left, and I think if he's able to establish consistency early in this game against the Giants, I think this is going to be pretty much a runaway by probably the end of the third quarter. And I will say, just to kind of kick it to the Giants here, if the Giants are going to be competitive in this game, it's simply going to be because of their defense. We could look back to that game last week against the Commanders in a game that Kevin and I comfortably picked the Commanders to win that game by probably 7 to 10 points. The Giants were able to manage a tie in that game. Granted, they would rather take a win than a tie, but it's better than a loss as far as I'm concerned. And the fact that they were able to limit, albeit what I would consider is a average offense with the Commanders led by Taylor Heineke, to be able to maintain them to 20 points could be a lot worse. I mean, the Eagles did lose to the Commanders, and the Eagles gave up 30 plus points in that game. And I mean, freaking Taylor Heineke looked like the second coming of Tom Brady in that game. He could not miss a pass in that game. But when I look at the injuries that the Giants have going into this game, this is going to be a big uphill battle for them. I mean, I'm looking at the guys who haven't participated in practice. I think Adoree Jackson missed another practice, so there's definitely a chance that he could miss this game. I'm looking at Leonard Williams on their defensive front four. He did not practice, so there's definitely some big injuries going into this game. And not only that, Saquon Barkley was limited in practice um, later in the week. So all in all, it just seems like the injuries have been a persistent theme for the Giants this year, and that's despite the fact that they've been relatively successful this year. But it's just coming to bite them in the ass here, and it could be something that we have to look towards in this game if they're not effective. It's just they just don't have the requisite pieces to be out there to compete and give the Eagles a good fight. And look, when you got Daniel Jones as your quarterback, if he's not turning the ball over, he's putting the team in a position to at least be competitive. But if he doesn't have the pieces, if he doesn't have Saquon Barkley in this game, I don't think that Daniel Jones is going to go out there and light up that Eagles defense, which has been known at times to really stifle some offenses that they've gone up against. And they have a good example of containing a Derrick Henry led offense with the Tennessee Titans to 10 points last week. So if the Giants don't have the pieces out there on the offensive side of the ball like Saquon, I just don't think that the Giants are going to be effective offensively. And that's where I really see this game essentially becoming a blowout. I just don't think that the Giants are going to be able to put up enough points here to make this game competitive. I think the Eagles, despite the fact that they're going up against, albeit a pretty solid defense against the Giants, I still think that they could put up 25, 30 points in this game. And if Jalen doesn't turn the ball over and they really focus on that RPO with their running back core, I think it'll be all day Eagles in this one. So, Kev, I'm with you 100% on this one. If I had to put a score on it, I'm going to say the Eagles win this one by the score of 30 to, let's say, 16. I think the Giants they'll get somewhere around the mid-teens as far as points are concerned, but I really think the Eagles can ramp this thing up in the second half. And there could be a good chance that, Jalen ends up probably just chilling on the sideline in the fourth quarter if this game really gets out of hand. So the Eagles are the best team in the NFL as far as I see it right now. Their record indicates that they've been on a pretty good winning streak here for the last couple of weeks. And I think this will just be another solid win for them against the Giants, which is definitely one of their NFC East foes as far as I see it.